Orchim Nichbadim. Viroti Verabotai. Sorry. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, the poison of anti-Semitism is spreading across the world. Regardless of the time, regardless of the place, Jews are judged by dark forces whose message is as clear as it is evil. Jews should not be allowed to exist. Jews are judged not because of their behavior, not because of anything they have said or done, not even because of any decision they have made or position they have taken. They are judged just because of who they are. They are judged for their belonging, for their heritage, for their history. In some ways, anti-Semitism differs from other forms of racism. For example, anti-Semitism is often built around resentment, sometimes pure envy, while other forms of racism often are built on the opposite: pity, indifference, a sense of superiority of the perpetrator. For that reason, in the eyes of the political left, anti-Semitism is, to a greater extent than other forms of racism, accepted. At least in my country, Sweden. If the perpetrator is classified as weak and the victim as strong, then, according to this logic, it's not considered as bad. And that's a false claim. The victim doesn't care about its position in this kind of made-up political analysis. If there is one thing history should have taught us by now, it is how evil and dangerous anti-Semitism is. And we all know what that history contains. Unspeakably horrific crimes against humanity, the darkest of darkness the world has ever witnessed. That memory is forever a reminder of what savage cruelty human beings at our very worst are capable of. And now we see it again. We see it in the Middle East. We see it in the United States. We see it in Europe. We see it in Australia. We see it in every part of the world. We see it in my country. Growing up in Sweden, the country of Raoul Wallenberg, a country where anti-Semitism for a long time was a marginal phenomenon, something that was represented by a group of excluded, marginalized, forgotten young men, sometimes something that the rest of the society totally rejected. It's a frightening realization that this is no longer the case. Not because anti-Semitism no longer exists. On the contrary, it sadly exists more than ever. But because those who today stand for hatred, stand for the violence and persecution, they are no longer marginalized, forgotten young men. They are broad religious and cultural groups that have chosen to immigrate to our country. In Sweden's three biggest cities, Stockholm, Gothenburg, and Malmö, Jews are being harassed. Jews speak of fleeing, or not just speak of fleeing, they are fleeing and have been for a while, actually. Jews speak of increased fear and insecurity. We see hateful marches walk the streets, chanting "from the river to the sea" and other anti-Semitic messages. But nowhere in Sweden do I see similar marches against Hamas' horrific actions, against Israel, against the Jews, against Westerns in general, against all of us infidels. And that's a disgrace. It's a stain of shame that will be permanently etched into history books. And surrender to hatred is not an option. Let that be very clear and unquestionable. We can never and we will never give in. We can never, we shall never allow these servants of evil to take over and define our existence, not in Europe, not in Sweden, nor in Israel. They want to make us ashamed. They want to scare us. They want to make us obey, but they will not succeed. Despite many attempts throughout history, they never have and they never will succeed. My fellow friends of civilization and humanity, today, for the first time, I can announce that my party, the Sweden Democrats, will take the lead to reintroduce a Swedish national terror list in order to fight the funding of terrorism, as well as fighting horrific ideologies that don't belong in Sweden, don't belong in any civilized country. And the need for such a list emerged from the sad fact that the European Union is too weak and it's too indecisive to handle this matter. There is an EU terror list, yes, but it's far from effective and it's far from complete. Even if such a list, of course, will include all types of terror organizations, it's highly relevant for the topic of fighting anti-Semitism. Not the least since the two most urgent movements to ban via a Swedish terror list is the Islamic Revolutionary Guard of Iran and the Muslim Brotherhood. Both organizations, deeply anti-Semitic and dreadful organizations. We will address this proposal ahead of the upcoming election later this fall. The Sweden Democrats, my party, has for decades taken the strongest stand against Islamists and other extremists in Sweden, against those who spread their hatred against Jews, hatred against Western society. We stand in the front line. That means that we also support Israel's rights, not only when it's the fashion of today to do so. It's not always that popular among Swedish voters, actually. But my party has not made this choice to win votes. We have not made this stand because it makes us very popular among the shouting crowds in the streets of Stockholm. We have not made this choice because it's always easy. We have made it because it is right. It is morally correct. There is, for every good-hearted person, really no alternative. Human decency and respect for each other as human beings is not a choice. It's a duty for every decent person, for every political party, for every politician, and for every nation. For conservative nationalists like me and the Sweden Democrats, the support for Israel's right to exist and to defend itself against extremists and external threats, existential threats, that must be as obvious as it is fundamental. For me and my party, it surely is. not least because Sweden and Israel, unfortunately, I must say, share a long list of problems that are very similar. We have a lot to learn from each other. My political work will always be firmly grounded in the defense of democracy, the right to your own country, and the right to defend it. In times when Islamism, with its built-in anti-Semitism, fuels hatred and spreads its poison across the world, that defense is more important than ever. And we will firmly stand up against the plague of anti-Semitism. With us, Israel and the Jewish people around the world have a friend, a true friend who will never give in, never step back, never compromise on the values that makes us who we are. Thank you for the invitation to this important event and for giving me the opportunity to address this very important issue. תודה רבה על ההזמנה ועל ההזדמנות לדבר כאן היום על נושא I can't really see the teleprompter, so sorry. But I have one more thing to say. אנחנו ממשיכים שלכם. Was that okay? Thank you very much. We'll keep on fighting. We'll fight. Thank you.